back in our boring living room.
Listen, we're in the boring living room, but I've got a huge announcement. I've made a unilateral decision about this podcast.
Oh, we love those.
Unilateral. Don't even question it. We're changing the format of the show. And the title and the content. We are now 100% a Love Island USA rewatch podcast. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining Islanders. Oh, I can do the accent.
You can be Ian, what's his name? Ian Sterling, I think.
Yes.
I saw he's going to go on tour. He's a stand-up comedian. And
we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about...
He was hilarious. He is the best part of that show.
Okay. Yeah, agreed. Well, I mean, they're getting a little messy. We are behind.
Yeah, we're catching up.
No spoilers.
And also, we've never watched Love Island.
That's also true. We're very confused. That's my favorite part of us watching the show is we keep asking each other questions that we don't know.
Neither one clearly knows.
So they won the game. So what happens? I don't know. So when does somebody leave?
Well, that's the thing. We've never watched Love Island, not the original, not any of the USA versions. We are the Road Rules Real World generation where those shows had like a point. And so we're so confused when they have these competitions. We're like, what do they win?
What happened?
Why did they do that? I don't know.
I need to sprinkle in touch of Jersey Shore, I think, to keep me going because I'm right on the fence.
Yeah, I texted my girlfriends and I was like, what is the point? And one of them said, just to like have people make out and test the couples. And I'm like, okay, that helps. Happening. Yeah, that helps. But we're enjoying it. It's fun.
Interesting.
I don't think we're going to do a whole podcast about it, but
every week, 4 times a week, no, 6 times a week, we're going to come to you with our Love Island USA takes.
Well, and our goal is we've noticed that they're doing watch parties around Dallas, and so we want to get caught up so that we can go to a watch party.
Look, Andrea, I don't know if I have enough mental fortitude.
Yeah.
My constitution skill is not high enough for this show to continue to be in my brain. Not only, I hate to say it, but I need some explosions. I need, like I said, some Jersey Shore.
They're starting to be a little drama. I will say, one of my friends that I was texting in a group chat, and I was just like, we're so behind. They're an hour long, and, we're like 20 episodes behind. And she said, start at episode 9. That's where I started.
And
I thought 9
hours
in is where you would start. Like, that's hilarious. But no, it's starting to get a little juicy.
But you know what the most amazing part is? And we probably will get back to this later, is the emotional intelligence of these people.
And that's what's the other big thing.
These young kids and their feelings and knowing their own feelings. How dare they?
I agree. I know. That's the other thing I was texting the group chat. I'm like, where is the toxicity? Where is the closed off gaslighting? That was our generation of reality TV. But these people, like, something happens and they immediately sit down and talk about it and they hear each other and they apologize and they acknowledge what the other person's saying. And we're like, wow, look at you guys.
I know.
There's hope for you.
Wow, look at you guys.
Which we're going to talk about a little more today.
We are.
But we've also been you've been consuming some really top-notch media in addition to Love Island.
I've had a big week of great media and sharing great media. So you and I have been watching Love Island. And Saturday, was it Saturday? Friday. I was rolling through Instagram and saw that Tommy Wiseau of The Room fame, if you've ever seen the movie The Room,
and if you haven't, it's okay.
It is the granddaddy of all bad movies. It is the best, worst movie you could ever see in your life. It feels like something's happening, but it's just the worst.
There is lore and a documentary about how bad it is.
There's multiple documentaries about it. And he was in town.
Because Tommy is not only the writer, director, producer, and star.
Yes.
He was in town.
Selling underwear. Yeah.
Yeah, he sells underwear.
He was in town, so he did a Q&A beforehand. And we kind of strolled in. I made my son go, the oldest one, the old guy, went with me. And he kind of groaned until we got there and started seeing the actual movie. And he got really like, I see what's happening here, which is... It's a cultural experience. Plays life before and life after this movie.
You had him questioning everything he knows. He said even the next day he's
still thinking about
and kept processing. But
every line in the movie is basically a quote you could tell your friend. And
it's terrible.
But we did get a good Q&A with Tommy.
Yeah,
and he answered a couple of questions. Like one of my favorites was the guy in the front row asked, "Hey, my girlfriend's an actress. What do you suggest she do, like, to become a better actress? Can you give her some acting tips? Which, of course, you know, is a little backhanded.
Yeah.
But Tommy's answer was basically never pay more than $100 for acting lessons.
Oh my God.
He's like, paying a little bit is okay, up to like $100. But anything over $100 is too much for acting lessons.
Well, that's clear that he has taken his own advice.
He's very familiar. But the thing that I am most excited about is that I asked a question and I got to kind of plug the podcast.
Okay.
So for your listening pleasure, I want to give you my question and talk.
You're going to play your clip? Okay.
Here you go. Hi, Tommy. My name is Matt. Excited to be here. I'm in the process of writing my first novel. And so I'm wondering if you had any like writing tips or anything from your process that maybe I could borrow.
Yeah, just writing. If you don't like to write again, that's it. If you have a good imagination, it will help you. And then also, I would say, you know, use your instincts. Why you want to write anyway in the first place? What's your like?
Well, so my wife and I have been together, high school sweethearts. We started a podcast about writing our first novel, and so we're working on writing a romance novel. And so it's something that we've been working on together. It's really something great to do with my wife and something we like to talk about. So, so that's kind of got us going. It's about our love and putting that on the page.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely. I commend you to do it, Lord. Why not? Hopefully we're the best one. Maybe we can make a movie about it. Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my suggestion would be only try to be as perfect as you can and use your instinct. Because you see, break all the rules. No rules when you write.
Thank you.
Here. Next question. All right, push it.
So he has offered to option our book already for a movie? That's what I heard. Movie. That's the part I heard, is that he wants to produce our movie.
Yeah, you know, he said, keep writing, follow your passion, have a good imagination. I liked be as perfect as you can, followed by break all the rules.
Yes.
So I'm not exactly sure where to fall in that spectrum, but I will be both perfect as I can be, and I will also break the rules. So
that's all you can do.
When this book is like number 0, that's above 1 on the New York Times bestselling list. I'm going to have to, maybe we should dedicate the book to him. I'll have to give him a shout out.
It's a bit much.
And tell him he changed our life.
Okay, maybe the acknowledgments. I don't know about dedicating the book.
He should be in the acknowledgments. That's actually really good.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Thank you
for the great advice.
Yeah, make a note of that. Thank you, Tommy. And you got a mug, a coffee mug.
He was outside with his merch, hawking his wares, and he had his underwear out there. He has his own underwear line, which, by the way, Andrea, I think I told you this.
He owes you a pair.
About 5 years ago, I purchased some from the website, and they literally just didn't show up.
Yeah.
So I emailed a couple of times. They did not respond back to me, but he was there, and I should have asked him for more underwear. That's okay.
You should have pulled up your receipt on your phone from 5 years ago. Can I just get a pair?
He signed my coffee mug, and Jackson and I got a picture with him.
Yeah.
And as he took pictures, he just kept going, woo, over and over. So I had to give him my big woo.
You also said he was wearing multiple belts.
Well, because he was selling belts. He had about 4 belts on.
So it was a look.
He had a whole thing.
We'll have to post the
like
picture.
snow gloves for some reason. It's a whole thing.
All the things.
But yes.
What an experience.
It was an experience. My life has changed.
I asked Jackson if he felt closer to you and more bonded after sharing that experience together.
He was like, I feel something.
Yeah, he was a little traumatized. He said the popcorn was great. He ate a lot of popcorn.
He liked the popcorn.
And I think just now having seen that, like, to be part of, like, film culture, you know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I told him. I said, hey, this has happened maybe 5 or 6 times in my life where somebody has said, have you seen The Room? And I said, now, when that happens, somebody in your life is going to ask you.
Absolutely.
And you're going to say yes. And I got to meet him.
It's pretty good.
You know, I'm trying to culture these kids, Andrew, make sure they get all the right mental nutrients.
And while you were taking one to see The Room, we had the other one winning a national championship in Atlanta. So we're very proud. Ollie just got home from a national competition he was with his school and made it from the regional to the state to the national level and ended up winning gold at nationals. So we have a national champ.
It's true.
Yeah, we were proud of him. And he's back today, or came back last night, and today we dropped him off at summer camp for a week. So quick turnaround.
Kind of fell in place.
Yeah, crazy timing, but
fun.
Good, yeah, all good, happy
Keeping
things.
busy.
Yeah,
all good.
I guess we should start our show about our book now.
I mean, I thought the Tommy story was the entire podcast.
Oh, that was it. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Instagram.
Tag him. We should tag him when we put this one out.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's hit the music.
Welcome to our next chapter, a podcast. I'm Andrea.
I'm Matt.
We are a married couple together 25 years.
Oof. Oof.
This cannot be part of it.
Before you even said the number.
I am putting a nix on the oofs. You're gonna have to find.
What if they're questioning?
I need it to be a cheer, like, woo. Yeah, together 25 years. Woo!
Yay!
Okay, there may not be a podcast after this week. Yeah. But we are together 25 years, married for 20. We have 2 teenage boys, 13 and 17. Wow. And as we are preparing for the next chapter of our lives with them just growing up and starting to figure out what their lives are going to look like, we started having more time to ourselves and decided to write a rom-com novel. And we enjoyed reading them together and decided to give a try to write one. And this podcast is just documenting that process. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things here today. We've got our author spotlight, which you're going to run us through. And then we have a little bit of kind of a relationship kind of discussion, which I think we've got some ideas for Alex. We read a New York Times article and heard about it and been chatting about it like ourselves. So we thought, let's bring this to the podcast. But it also gave us a plot point.
A pretty big one, yeah.
We'll talk about the article and the plot point. And we'll wrap it up. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, and take our kid to summer camp.
I know.
Oof. Yeah. So starting off with our author of the week, you want to jingle us in? Jingle us all the way?
Yeah, of course. Okay, here it comes. The greatest authors have something to learn from Karen Dukess's conjuring turn.
Are you parroting?
And you'll all say,
Cats?
Oh, well, I never was there ever an author spotlight so tender as Karen Dukess.
Oh my goodness. You're parroting cats?
The cats, okay?
Oh my
Mr. Mistopheles.
That is so
You know what?
painful.
I may do the rest of this podcast with nothing but cat songs.
Between the Love Island podcast and cats parody.
Skimbleshanks, the railway cat.
Oh my
God.
God.
The cat of the railway line.
Train?
No, he's the railway line.
I thought it was the train. I don't know. It's sad that I know that because you played it so much that although I tried to avoid that musical in my life. Well, thank you for introducing Karen Dukess, our author of the week. I chose her because, multiple reasons. One, Annabelle Monahan recommended her new book called Welcome to Murder Week that just published June 10th this month by Scout Publishing. It's an imprint of Simon & Schuster. And so I read it at Annabelle Monahan's recommendation. She's been, posting about it and talking about how fantastic it was. And even when she was here in Dallas, she mentioned it. She said, you guys, this is going to be one of the best books you read this year. And so I read Welcome to Murder Week, and it is so cute. It's a cozy mystery set in a English countryside, and which is kind of it's a pivot for me. And I do read a lot of romance novels, but it did have an element of romance. It was a really cute book. It was a quick read, but it also had some heavier tones of processing grief and loss. And with Karen, a lot of her books kind of have the characters just dealing with how their past made them who they are today. And really diving into how that can look for so many people, how they can endure hard or traumatic things and come out of it in such different ways. One person could come out really skeptical. One person could come out really cheerful and positive and optimistic.
Or if you're me, you come out really sexy.
Or if you're Matt, you come out really
no matter what.
sexy.
Is that where you were going?
That was exactly where I was going.
I can tell. Yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
We have that ESPN where we can just tell what each other is thinking.
Good Friends reference. This is why I love you. But yeah, just a little about Karen. So she actually has a bachelor's in Russian studies. She lived in Russia for a while, but her degree was from Brown University, super cool, and then got her master's in journalism from Columbia University. So some fancy schools. And so, yeah, she lived in Russia. She published there. She was actually a tour guide in the former Soviet Union. She's fluent in Russian, which I would hope if you're a tour guide. Yeah.
And if you majored in Russian studies.
Right, yeah. But I thought that was kind of cool. She's been, a journalist, a newspaper reporter in Florida. She's published magazines in Russia, did speech writing for the United Nations on gender equality. Super great. But she lives outside New York. She loves to spend her summers in Cape Cod. She has a house there in Truro. She also moderates these author talks at Castle Hill Center for the Arts, and that's an event in Truro. So that's kind of cool. So some of those are virtual, some are in person, but I think that's neat that she's also interviewing authors and highlighting, new works that are being published and things. But like I said, a lot of her writing really focuses on like memory and identity and also place. I love when the setting is a character. That's huge. So she's had
it's on my board behind your head.
Yeah, all the planning board. It's the setting is a character. But so she's had 2 books published. She just had the Welcome to Murder Week published this month, but in 2019 she published The Last Book Party, and so that was a coming of age novel set in 1980s New York and Cape Cod. It follows Eve, an aspiring writer navigating the complex world of literary ambition, grief, and friendship. Beautifully captures the vibe of the literary scene during that time, weaving in themes of creative struggle and personal growth. So I haven't read that one, but I'm adding it to my list for sure. Fun fact about her, I love that she didn't write her first novel until she was 50.
Ooh.
So I really like that. So just this idea that you can
always... 10 years.
You got 10 years, but that's not 8.5. But I just like the idea that you can always try something new. At any age you can, new opportunities, reinvention, creativity. That's encouraging to me of feeling like, so many authors that we've read didn't start writing until they were in their late 30s, mid 40s, early 50s. And I think that's so encouraging. And like Kennedy Ryan, our author of the week last week, she said, I'm thankful I didn't start writing until later because my life experiences and my maturity, that contributed to who I am as a writer and what I write about and who I center.
I wonder how much that has to do with the genre you're writing too, right? Something like romance may need more life experience where, I'm not saying anything's easier, but I'm saying if I'm going to come up with a fantasy on my own, then I'm not going to be living as a warlock in, a dungeon. So,
true. That's true. It'd be interesting to do research on average first age published by genre. That would be interesting just to see are romance authors just typically a little older when they start writing or I don't know, curious. But Welcome to Murder Week was so good. So it follows, it's like I said, cozy mystery about Kath, who it's very early in the book. This is part of the synopsis. Her mother passes away. They weren't very close. She didn't spend a lot of time with her growing up, but she finds out that her mom had paid for this week-long murder mystery experience in this small town in England, in the countryside. And it was just baffling to her of why would my mom have done this? This doesn't make any sense. So she's kind of on a journey to figure out her own mystery while she's there. So this town who's trying to, raise revenue and get tourism going and things like that, they put on a murder mystery as a town where they've written this. And so the people who live there are characters in the murder mystery, and then the people who come and stay are investigating and things. But while she's there, she's also trying to figure out, why did her mom book this? Why did she have this trip planned for them that they didn't get to go on? And her mom's not around now for her to ask. And so she's really trying to figure that out. She ends up staying, since she's solo now, she ends up staying with 2 other people who are traveling solo. So that's kind of a fun evolution of their kind of fast friendship and how they all interact and what their backgrounds are together and them working as a team to try to solve the case. And so she's working on that, but then also kind of trying to uncover her own family secrets, basically. But what really caught me, what I do think is going to stick with me is just this idea of how people carry grief differently and how how they emerge from it differently. And I won't say too much more about that because I do highly recommend reading it. I'm thankful to Annabelle Monahan for suggesting it because it was a great book. And like I said, kind of a detour from my normal reading, but something that I really kind of couldn't put down, made it through in a couple days, really enjoyed. So yeah, check that out. Welcome to Murder Week, and Karen Dukess, just really excited. And just the way she described the English countryside, like I said, the character as a set, the setting as a character, really incredible and just beautiful, and made me want to go visit. And they made a lot of references to like Pride and Prejudice and like Jane Austen and Jane Eyre and like those different writers and authors of that time. And even like the Pride and Prejudice movie from 2005, like, you know, they mention one of the cliffs that they go to, like, this is where Keira Knightley stood. And so there's a lot of like current references too. And so it just made me want to go watch that movie again and just look at that like countryside and the cute little towns with the pubs and the little shops and things like that. So now once again, I'm ready to go on vacation. I want to go check.
You're going to have a whole nother list and Pinterest board of places we have to visit based on these books. I know you have a whole Abbey checklist going.
Yep, got a whole tour. I know. I was ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to go to Prince Edward Island, and there was what was the one I told? Remarkably Bright Creatures, about the octopus. That was up in the Pacific Northwest. I want to go up there.
I've been up there. The Boundary Waters, Andrea.
I know. That's part of my Abbey trip.
I had a friend who said he was fishing up there, and I said, "Were you on the Boundary Waters?" Like I knew what I was.
Like we know what that is. Yeah. Soon enough, we'll know. But anyways, Karen Dukess, author of the week. Check her out. Welcome to Murder Week. Super cute book, fast read. And it kind of leaves you with something to think about, which I really liked. It was something like fun and light and entertaining, but then there was this
message.
Yeah, a real message and a layer there. So
do you need me to sing the cats thing one more time?
I don't think so. I think we can just segue straight into our own characters' baggage.
And they all say,
I think we're good.
Oh, well, I never was there ever a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mustapha-Lees. No? Does that help? Is that it? I feel like that brings a lot of energy. Or am I just hissing you off?
I was just giving you time to see what doing a podcast by yourself would feel like.
Okay.
Because that's what it's about to be.
Hey, I could do a full hour on cats. We can talk about James Corden and Taylor Swift.
And then you could check your data and see how many people listen to a full hour on cats.
I could do an hour on cats every week for at least 6 months.
I believe that. Would anyone listen?
Doesn't matter. I'm listening. It's making me happy.
Can we talk about our book now? Would that be okay?
I guess.
So to give a little background, which reading that book and just having some thoughts around just an evolution of a person, how they become who they are, that tied in so perfectly with, I had a friend who sent me a message on Instagram. She was sharing a video of a girl that had like popped up on her feed basically. And the woman was talking about an article she read in the New York Times. And so this quick conversation I had with her just prompted so much thought and like reflection that I brought it to you. And I said, hey, let's talk about this a little bit. And then you and I got into it and we were like, let's put a stop to this because this is something we need to talk about on the podcast, because it really, I felt like was revealing.
Only is it about relationships, it led us to a revelation about the book.
Yes, like, and about our character. Yeah, absolutely. And so basically my friend, she's been married previously. She's single now and she's in the dating scene. Mm-hmm. And when we get together, we talk a lot about that. Like we talk about her experiences. She's on dating apps. And so we'll talk about different dates or, talk about like the guys' profiles and things, because I guess we should preface this by saying, and we've been very open about this on our podcast, is like you and I have been together since high school. Like we are the experience we know.
Yeah, we're definitely wading into unknown waters a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if we get something wrong, hey guys, roll with it.
Yeah, please give us grace. And I think that's what I'm saying is like we're being vulnerable here because we know that this is not an area that we know a lot about, but it's something that we're researching and intentionally for the book. And so just knowing like over the last several years, she and I have gone out, we talk about her experiences, different dates. And so I've kind of gotten insights just on like what the dating scene is like from talking to her and to, other friends of mine who are single. And, I've come home and talked to you about profiles because, you being in advertising, I'm like, man, honestly, you should start a business where you help guys creative brand. Yeah. They're branding themselves.
And honestly, the books are the guide. The stuff we're reading
Truly.
is 100%.
That's what we've been saying.
Just the guide. Like
guys should read romance.
Guys, and you're looking for a relationship, go read a couple of these books and you're going to realize what women want.
It is. It's the how-to.
Help you go, oh.
It is. And what she and I have realized so often is what I feel like, again, this is my personal opinion. A lot of times when guys are kind of branding themselves, making these profiles, they brand themselves for what other guys would think is cool.
Dudes,
yeah, but it's like, I don't think they're thinking that when they do it, but it's like.
Wait, women don't like huge fish and dead deer? Wait a minute.
Always. I mean, some do, if that's what you're looking for. Like some women are into that, but so you and I have talked about like, man, you could really help guys like brand themselves and create these profiles of like knowing what to put. And then how we've talked about romance novels and that being kind of a how-to for guys and things. But this video she sent me about this New York Times article, the article is called Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back by Rachel Drucker. It was published June 20th of this month. And so the video was interesting because the woman who wrote the article is 54. She says in the article that she's 54 and she talks about her dating history, how she's been dating since the 80s. And the girl who was recording this video to me looks to be maybe like late 20s, early 30s. And so just to kind of get into it, basically my friend sent me this video. She just said, I found this to be so true for my experience, thought it could be a piece to consider for your female protagonist. Modern single adult female truth, basically. So I watched this video. At this point, I hadn't read the article, but it's just summarizing it. And it's basically talking about how in today's dating scene, men are withdrawing a little bit. That they will flirt online, they'll make the connections and there's like the flirt and the spark. But so often there is a lack of stepping into the actual face-to-face interaction of the dates, and really like showing up for that part and the intimacy and the vulnerability and things like that. And so what I thought was interesting is that at this point I didn't know, but the woman who wrote the article is in her 50s. This lady's a little bit younger. And so just my initial reaction to my friend that sent me this was I was just like really interested and kind of shocked a little bit again because I'm not in the dating scene and so I don't really know that. But I just said it makes me like my scientist brain want to dig into like origins for the behavior of like where is this coming from? Why are men kind of withdrawing from this like intimacy piece? Because I feel like I see it a little bit in like high schoolers. I work in a high school and college age kids, I'm kind of seeing it with that. Then I see this lady in the video. And then I said
you see it in Love Island.
I see it in Love Island. And I see it like, I just started wondering, like, are multiple generations of women experiencing this? Is this also impacting men, And so I just said, I almost want to interview men to say like, why? Like, and so some of my hypothesis, I guess, was like, okay, is it a fear of like cancel culture or like the Me Too movement? Like I've definitely heard men a little more like shy about dating because there's just kind of a fear around that now, which I think there's a healthiness to that, right? Like kind of calling into attention that behavior. But then I'm like, is like the flirting more appealing than the physical? Like, do they just like the online part and the flirting part? I was wondering if like porn is a factor. Like,
I mean, one of the things she points to in the article is digital detachment. And what she says is the way many men had quietly withdrawn from intimacy and vulnerability, not with violence or resistance, but with indifference.
Yeah.
Like you're talking
about. But like, I think after watching the video and not having read the article yet, these were just like my, what could this be? I'm like, is porn a factor? Or is it like that has created like and porn and also just like social media and just like the immediate access to that like satisfaction.
0 to 100.
Where there's not, there's not this like slow earned piece. Is it a therapy thing? Whatever. And so we kind of went back and forth because what she was talking about in her experience is that she struggles some between like being a feminist and feeling feminine. And she's like, those are not mutually exclusive energies. But what she's noticed is they kind of, depending on which one she's putting forward on a date, they attract very different types of men. and personalities.
Sure.
And so that's something that she's kind of like trying to find that balance for herself. And so, one thing that you and I, when I brought this to you and I said, hey, I kind of want to read this article together and talk about on the podcast, a discussion that we've had is feeling like over the last few years, especially since COVID, I would say, but really with the evolution of social media, is that there has been a lot of content for women focused on like self-development and self-help and empowerment. And
yeah. I mean, if social media is a tool, what you're saying is that women use it for one thing and men use it for another.
Yeah. And even watching, like if I sit next to you and you're scrolling, your algorithm is so different from mine where you're not seeing a lot of like parenting advice and,
Sure.
how to feel empowered and how to have self-confidence and, all these things like that women are being fed. And so one thing I feel like we've talked about recently is honestly, I think that's done a little bit of a disservice to men because what I think has happened, again, this is my hypothesis and this is where I'm being vulnerable and I could be so wrong. We haven't interviewed groups of men of different ages, different, single, married, whatever. But what I feel like has happened a little bit is women have evolved at a little bit like faster pace recently, emotionally, whereas men didn't. And so now I feel like there's a little bit of a gap where not only are they maybe a little bit behind emotionally, but also scared to like engage because of this like new culture.
I think women have always matured faster than men.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a biological thing. And I think women have always been closer to their emotions and talked a bit with their emotions. One of the things I've been thinking about this week, because it's something I saw as well, is that as a millennial, I know we're talking about this person being Gen X or whatever, but as a millennial, it seems to be our job to learn about emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, teach our kids, and also teach our parents.
Yes, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Which is why they said millennials are so exhausted.
Right. And it's like the current, I mean, I guess single male, I'll speak for myself. I didn't have a lot of direction in that,
right.
Emotional intent. It's like growth and work, and you have to think about it and be present and do these things.
Yeah.
But you have to choose to do that, right?
Yeah, it's intentionality.
There's intentionality.
Yeah.
And even some of the relationships around us that we've seen grow and fizzle, and it has a lot to do with growth.
Yeah.
And the ability to change and realize that change is the only constant in a relationship.
Yeah.
We have to keep growing and changing, and because you will naturally as a human.
Yeah.
So you have to give your partner space.
Yeah, I definitely think like there's an importance around
but it feels like guys are giving up, right? It's kind of what the article's not giving up, but like just kind of withdrawing. Like
and I'm curious as to why, because that's once we did. So that was kind of our first thing is you and I sat down and we read the article, which did go into much more detail. And that's when we learned that the author was 54 and talking about her experiences. And basically what she was noticing when she was going out is like she would look around at the tables and it was mostly women. There were literally just men absent. Going back to the title of the article, Men, where have you gone? Please come back. Looking around, women were like either alone or they were in groups of other women, and she just didn't see a lot of people like on dates. And so she just said like this wasn't just something she was experiencing. Now she's realizing like culturally there was a slow vanishing of presence. And so it was really interesting because she talked about how back in the 80s she actually worked for Playboy and was like on a team that curated content and knew to such specific detail like what got men to engage, what got them to pay for something that they might be able to find online for free, like what drew them in. And she said it wasn't intimacy, it was access to simulation, clean, fast, and frictionless. And so I do feel like there's been a cultural element of immediate like satisfaction and like a lack of need for
you don't have to put in the work,
right,
like
to get your outcome. Yeah.
I just want the outcome.
Yeah. No effort, no curiosity. Like this is all from her article. No reciprocity, no one's feelings to consider, no vulnerability to navigate, just a closed loop of consumption. So she's talking about that all the way back into the 80s. And so you're thinking of like how, like you said, as a young, teenager, young adult, like there weren't conversations around emotional intimacy and
about that. And the closest we got was my dad being like, man, she's hot. And that's about it.
That's real. I mean, and
Yeah.
that because that was the culture. And then now I feel like watching Love Island and watching these young men being able to so clearly articulate their feelings is really interesting. And it's not to say they don't still love like the, you know, casual
do
hookups.
whatever.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it's Love Island, right? But like they are so
Clear.
good, so good at talking about their feelings and naming things that I'm like, wow, our generation is just
being
not
responsible for their feelings, honestly, is
Yeah.
what it is. I think
Yeah.
for me, that's a lot of it. Realizing, I feel like men have a hard time taking responsibility for their actions a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of different ways, and they find ways to hide, right?
Yeah.
What you mentioned before, the Me Too cancel culture thing,
Mm-hmm.
while that should not be something to keep you from dating, because that's something, but it's something to hide behind. Well, the women, these women, you know, they're just out to get me. You know, I can't do anything right.
It could definitely be a mentality for sure. And I don't like what I talked about, like it made me think of as a teacher. Sometimes you have your kids where they are and you have where you want them to be.
Mhm.
And you have to create scaffolding. You have to create the stairs. And what I feel like is men culturally were raised to be one way. And then suddenly the world just evolved very rapidly.
Yeah.
And now women are here. And I would say like women still want the men and men still want the women, but like we haven't given the scaffolding. We haven't given the stairs. And so like you said, there needs to be an intentional choice on the part of both people, but specifically the guy in this case, to do the work, to think, I want to be a lifelong learner. I want to evolve. I want to be a great partner. And not even just with a romantic relationship, in friendships, in as parents. I think about how much like you and I have evolved as parents because of the work that we've done, like to better understand ourselves and our emotions and being able to self-regulate. And so much of that is because of what's available to us now that wasn't really available back then.
And I think the growth, like, I can look at myself and think about my personal growth and coming from the generation of where gay wasn't a slur and everything's gay, you know, and all that kind of stuff, to now, like, I tell my guy friends, I love you on the phone all the time, like, because those relationships are so meaningful to me and important. But I think to kind of, to give a personal view of feminism, like, I'm still have mixed feelings about the word feminism, because I feel like we misname it a lot of the time because of what you said. People are seeing women's growth and their ability to be emotionally intelligent. Well, that's feminism, you know, where it's like, that's not feminism. It's the scaffolding you're talking about. It's the growth that women have created and shown. It's not something new. It's the fact that they're out maturing men.
And I think part of it is that since the beginning of time, like partnerships, marriages were a business deal. And we are, for the first time in history, at a place where women don't need marriage for survival. And it's come to a point, and this is a conversation I've had with my single girlfriends, they are choosing whether or not they want to be in partnerships because they don't need it for financial reasons or, you know, like the security of it. It's like, no, this is a value that I want in my life.
Absolutely.
And so I think that that's a whole new piece too, of like, women don't need relationships the way that they do. They don't need marriage the way that they do.
They need men.
Yeah. And so even the article, she says, women were once signifiers of value, even to other men. It wasn't always healthy, but it meant that men had to show up and put in some effort. And that's not the case as much anymore. And so it's like, we're just kind of in this era, she says, where men no longer seek women to impress other men or to connect across difference. They perform elsewhere, alone. They filtered us out. It's kind of her feeling.
So it feels like we're in this transition period from patriarchy to partnership.
Yes. And the equality. And I think like that's when you talk about feminism, and sometimes it's like a misnomer. It's like, it's more about women as equals and women as partners. And I think that that's what so many women, and part of this like evolution through social media, is women are finally saying out loud, I am not looking for another child to take care of. I want a partner. I want somebody who shares in household duties and in parenting duties and in life. Somebody that is my equal, intellectually, you know,
and I think
emotionally.
That scares a lot of men.
That is.
But in reality, it makes you stronger. It makes a partnership stronger. It makes everything.
Absolutely. But like I said, I don't think the staircase has been there.
Right,
and it's not that it doesn't exist. it hasn't been put in front of men the way that it was put in front of women.
Sure.
And that's not men's fault. You know, like your algorithm, like some scientists decided to show you fishing content over
it's what you interact with.
Growth.
And it's also this goes all the way. You can go back to baseball and horse racing and gambling, back in the drinking alcohol, all these distractions men have and put in their own life. You know, like I don't go to social media for that necessarily. Like when I'm going to find something like that, I go find an article, or I do search for like, oh, I'm having this issue in my relationship or with my kiddo. How have other people tackled this? It's not something that I'm just constantly watching. That's
going to be put in front of you, or that's culturally part of, like, how many times, like I think about when I go out with my girlfriends, how many times we talk about our relationships, we talk about parenting, we talk about some friendship. Like how many times do guys sit around and be like, I'm having this issue, like my son's blah, blah, blah. Like I don't think that's as common. And you cultivated it.
For me, it's been more and more. Right? Like it's something that has been an open space.
Yeah.
And trust built with my guy friends that it's okay. Like life is hard and messy. Yeah. We all need sounding boards and people to bounce stuff off.
And I think, like you said, women were raised to be more in tune with their emotions and to be allowed to talk more about that culturally. And I think like we've talked about on the podcast before, like you have created a space where it's safe for guys to talk about those things. And then I think it's interesting because like you gravitate towards guys that are more open like that, and then they gravitate towards you. And so it's like you've intentionally cultivated these relationships where it's okay to talk about those things, and then it becomes normal. And what I love is then like our kids see you doing that and see you working with your guys. So then that becomes normal in their lives too, with their friendships and, you know, them talking with us. And so I think, again, it goes back to like, as men, there needs to be a decision made to seek out that growth. Right. Sure. And to know that, it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there. It is. And like, you're still going to run into spaces where guys are like, what? You know, like, what are you talking about? Like, but pushing forward through that.
Nod your head and keep going.
Yeah. And knowing, like you said, of like, okay, well, maybe that space isn't for me, but like, I know what I want and I know what I'm going towards. And so, like I said, like, I think there is this epidemic of loneliness, specifically among men. And I do think, again, this is my personal opinion, I think that they want the partnership. I think that they want the companionship. But there has just been this gap created of like, how do I get there?
More or less, they don't want to put the work in. You feel
well, one thing I loved is towards the end of the article, she just started talking about, she said, maybe we're between paradigms, mourning what's fallen, not yet fluent in what comes next. And so it talks about like the infrastructures of intimacy, the slowness, curiosity, accountability. They've been eroded by haste, convenience, and a kind of sanctioned emotional retreat. She said, it's not about blaming men. It's about noticing the imbalance, about grieving what's not meeting us and refusing to dress it up as personal failure when it's actually a collective reality. So I think that's the other thing is I think a lot of men maybe sit in a little bit of shame or thinking this is them personally and not looking at it more as like, this is a cultural phenomenon that like we need to address as a team. And so she says, here's what I'll say. You are missed, not just by me, but by the world you once helped shape. And so she goes on and says, maybe no one taught you how to stay. Maybe you tried once and it hurt. Maybe the world told you your role was to provide, to perform, to protect, and never to feel. But here's what's real. We never needed you to be perfect. We needed you to be with us, not above, not muted, not masked, just with. And I love that. And so she just says, like, we want to co-create something true. We're not impossible to please. We're not asking for performances. We're asking for presence, for courage, for breath and eye contact, and the ability to say, I'm here. I don't know how to do this perfectly, but I want to try. She said, come back, not with flowers or fireworks, but with willingness, with your whole beautiful, imperfect heart. We're still here and we haven't stopped hoping. And I just love that. Like, I love that it takes people both agreeing to show up and be present and be imperfect and just find their way together. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, again, pulling back our own curtain and like being a little vulnerable, like you and I have had so many moments of imperfection and not doing it the right way, but continually coming back to the table and saying like, I want this to be better. I know that this can be better. And like that takes a decision on both of us deciding as individuals to constantly be growing so that as a couple and in a relationship, we can be growing. Yeah. And as parents, we've done that. We've said like, I'm trying to grow. We tell the boys, we try to be open with them. I'm like, hey, no one taught us how to be parents. Like
we're all making it up.
We're all making it up as we go. We're just human. We're doing this for the first time. And like, just please give us grace. We apologize when we need to apologize. We just constantly try to show them like, I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to evolve, and like trying to right our mistakes with them, and trying to not only apologize, but like make actionable change. Like, I want to be better. I will be better. I am better. And so I really, really love this article. And it really led us into then talking about our characters.
Our characters in the book. And, you know, I think something we've talked about on the podcast and something we've seen here is growth. The idea and theme and champion of growth and what that looks like. And even what you're talking about with the author of the week, and how that growth is such a big idea, because I mean, we're all just making the best decisions we can with the information we have at the time. We're doing our best
and carrying our past with us. Yeah.
And what does growth look like? And so for our characters, on one end, it feels like we have Anna, who is getting more like stuck in her ways. She likes the comfortability. She likes controlling. She likes all this thing. Growth is scary.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Change is scary.
Change is terrifying. On the other side, the foil of Alex, I think he's more emotionally in tune with himself and being more go with the flow in that way.
But we started talking about why is he like that?
Yes, so
because we know men of this age, he wouldn't just have
magically been perfect.
So we started talking about what would give him that emotional intelligence. What kind of growth must he have had to go through?
And so I think what we talked about is that maybe he's been divorced. He's had a rough relationship and had to figure it out afterwards. You know, maybe he was blindsided by a failed relationship and went, wait, I thought everything was good. Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
You grew this way and I stopped growing. And how are we going to get back together?
And when he actually had to sit with it, he realized like, I got stagnant.
Wait a minute.
I wasn't continuing to pursue you. I wasn't continuing to evolve myself and grow myself.
Right.
And so he's done the work. He's been to therapy. He's evolved. He knows who he is and what he wants. And he's in a place where he can name that. And so,
which I think lends itself to, I think there's going to be a third act breakup. I don't know if we've talked about it yet.
Yeah.
But some sort of situation where she pushes him away. And I think that moment for him is not as, oh, woe is me, as much as it is him realizing that growth needs to happen and it's slow and change. And we all need space. She needs space. And that's fine. That's okay. We all need space sometimes.
And I think that's where his emotional maturity is going to come into play, because I feel like a guy who hadn't been through this experience, who hadn't done the work of his previous divorce and relationship, he might feel desperate. He might want immediate, I need an answer right now. Or, you know, not wanting to give her what he knows she needs. And I think that's the reason he knows she needs the space and time, because he's done that. He's been through it himself. He's been where she was.
Her at her stunted, I want to change things. And he's built this relationship with her, but she's like, oh my gosh, my world is blown up. And he goes, I've been there. I've seen that. I know what's happening.
Not in a mansplaining way. We're not doing mansplaining.
He's not going to tell her that.
No, he's just thinking it. He knows. Kind of like not a parent with a kid, but it's like when you've experienced something before, you're like, you kind of know what that journey is.
Over the top, like, well, I know what's happening.
This is what's going to help you.
But internally, like that's his.
From a maturity standpoint, he's going.
That's the subtext that's not in the book. That he knows that feeling.
He's going to give her the space that she needs, because he knows like she's not going to be able to come back to him and be the partner that he wants her to be if she doesn't get the time to go through this. I think you and I have done that before, where we kind of pull away from each other because we're going through something and we just need to work through it so that we can come back to the table and be the partner that we want. And it's like, I think that's the same here, is he's seeing her go through this thing and he's like, I'm here, I'm in your orbit, I'll bring you food, I'll take care of you, like I'll be your sounding board.
He sees the potential of the future
what
her.
It can be,
and he's ready for that low and slow burn. See that?
Here we go, low and slow.
So as a pitmaster type person, he's used to waiting. He's used to being patient.
Yeah.
You know, so
waiting for that perfect outcome. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And there was an element of that in the Welcome to Murder Week, the Karen Dukess book I just read. There was an element of that with somewhat of a third act breakup type thing. And just giving time and space to work through what you need to work through, and knowing like, hey, if this is meant to be, you're going to come back being who you need to be.
We've seen a little bit of that in the Abby books too, where it's like 3 months later, 6 months later.
Just need time to work through those things. Yeah. So I love that. And I think it's exciting because it makes Alex he makes more sense to me now. Like, why is he this totally evolved dude? You know, why is he so emotionally intelligent? I mean, I know we kind of wrote him to be Indy's partner, you know, we crafted him for her, but like I needed to know, where has he been? And I think it's going to be fun to dig into his backstory a little bit then, of like, what was this divorce? Did he maybe get married right out of high school? Was he super young? Like, what happened, you know, and what, you know, how much of his backstory does he want to share with her about going to therapy, or, you know, when he did sit with the, you know, I'm sure at first maybe he wanted to blame her and this was her, oh, she ran off with some other guy, or she this or she that. But like once he sat with it alone, I feel like that's when he started realizing more of what his part, you know, how he contributed.
Their age too, where we keep talking about them.
That they're a little older. Yeah, for sure.
It makes sense that they'd have some life experience.
I'm so grateful to my friend, though, for sending me that video, which led us to the article, which led to this incredible discussion, which then connected me all the way back to one of our very first episodes when we talked about wanting to write a book. We talked about, what is our message? Like, why do we want to write a book? You know, what do we want to say with this book? And in the beginning, I think we were really focused a lot on like, oh, marriage takes work, you know, relationships are work. It's a choice, you know, which is a core value of ours and our relationship. But I think beyond that, even bigger than that, what we realized is what's actually really important to the two of us is growth and constant, like always being a learner, always evolving. And that is something that you and I come back to a lot, is like one of the reasons we think that we continue to stay strong in our relationship is because both of us are always evolving as individuals and trying to grow as individuals. And then we get to know who that new person is, because we are so different than what we've been all along.
I'll put a little asterisk on it because, I mean, that's literally what the podcast is about, is our next chapter. Yeah. We now have the time to reflect into this. True. But when we had younger kids, we were changing and growing, but it was harder. It was slower and bumpier. And because we were focused on
on being young, and
survival and who's taking which kid to which school. And
can we pay that bill this month? Exactly. Yes. And I think that's too, is like giving yourself grace in whatever phase you're in. Of if you're young and you're single, or you're in school, or you maybe are just married, or you do have young kids or whatever. It's like giving yourself grace for wherever you are, and not letting comparison be the thief of joy, of like looking at other people that are in different phases.
Deal. It's like the comparison piece, because I think she's going to get into a spot where she sees her sister being successful and her being stuck, and I think that's going to start to eat at her a little bit.
Or comparing to people in other chapters or phases of their life.
Yes, absolutely.
And like when you said the asterisk on it, is like, we don't know what our next chapter looks like. You know, like this is where we are right now. We're trying to show up as our authentic selves.
I mean, if you don't let me do the Cats podcast, I might be out of here.
I understand. Me too, maybe. I don't know. Like, if you keep bringing that in. But I am excited to keep watching Love Island with you. I'm excited to continue.
Maybe we'll just go to the watch party, because I don't know if I can.
We're so close. We're like halfway. We're almost there.
Another 10 hours of content of them sitting in just talking to each other.
It's going to be fine. We're going to be fine. What we do want is, I need somebody to make a super edit that just edits down the content and cuts out all the bad transitions and then just staring at each other, or, you know, the make-out sessions. I don't need to see all of those.
We get it.
Or this is where I just sound like an old lady. I'm like, just tell me the content, you know. Or like we need Peacock to have like a 2x mode. That we can just like zoom through a little bit, the way you could do with like TikTok and stuff. We need that. So that's my old lady.
Slow me down on the messy parts.
Soapbox of the week. Yeah.
But otherwise, let me go.
I know. I just want the juicy content. But no, I'm enjoying that. I'm excited to keep writing with you. We're finally writing these chapters. It's coming together. It's finally, now that both of our professional lives have slowed down a little bit, we're getting to really finally start writing these chapters and writing this story, and so it's fun to see it come to life, and hopefully soon enough we'll be sharing it with you. But let us know what you think. I know this was a
conversation.
A lot of conversation and a heavier discussion. Maybe go read this article again. It was New York Times, Men, Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back, by Rachel Drucker. If you read it, let us know. Give us your thoughts.
Thought-provoking.
Yeah. Are we way off the mark? Or do we just sound like a couple who's been together for 25 years and you're like, these people have no idea? That's fine too. We want to know because we're writing people who haven't followed our path. And so, anything you have to say is just research and data for us. So please share that. Check out Karen Dukess's new novel, Welcome to Murder Week, just published this month. And just thank you for joining. Continue to like, rate, and share on all the places that you listen to podcasts.
Sign up for the newsletter, https://www.ournextchapterpodcast.com.
That was work. Okay. So thank you. If you still after all that go to the website and sign up. So you can no, that's fine. No. Okay. But I do think when we make this newsletter, it needs to be called the non-existent newsletter. I think that should be the name of it. But if you sign up, you get your name in the back of our book in our acknowledgement section as one of our OG listener fans. And we are on all the social media sites at Our Next Chapter Podcast. So please join us and thank you for listening. Until next time, I love you.
I love you.
And now we get to go take our baby to summer camp.
The greatest magicians have something to learn.
I'm out.
From Mr. Mustafalia's conjuring term.